Okay, so now we're going to talk about show notes. So first off, what are show notes? Show notes are essentially, instead of having a podcast summary, you also need to have episode summaries. So for every single episode, what you've just done for the podcast summary, you have to follow a similar format when it comes to an episode summary. And that is what is called a show note. Now, in an episode summary, however, for it to become a show note in its entirety, you need to add a certain amount of additional information. So show notes oftentimes have links, they have calls to action, they may even have different transcripts with timestamps so that people that are listening to your episode and are going through your show notes, they can click on that particular timestamp and automatically be taken to the segment of their choice. There are various ways and formats that you can create your show notes, but we wanted to make it really easy for you. So essentially what we've done is we tried to simplify it. There are two things that you can basically do from here on out. The first way is to do this manually. If you wish to do this manually, we've created a blog on show notes, which you can find within our blog section, our resources section. Now, each different show note structure that you see is optimized for a specific purpose. So certain show note structures are created for discoverability. Certain show note structures are created for higher click-through rates. And then there are, tertiary reasons why people have show notes created, which you can, again, find in the blog section and the resources section. So that's essentially the manual way to do it, where you take any one of those structures and you can blindly follow process that structure has laid out. So do exactly those specific things. So it'll have a synopsis normally at the top. It'll have a few important links. It'll have a couple of calls to action. And at the very end, it may have a transcript or certain, segments within your podcast with timestamps attached to it so that people can jump straight into those specific parts of your podcast episode. And that's normally the format of how show notes for a particular episode work. So that's the manual way to do it. But in 2023, we have one other option, which is a lot more exciting, which is an automated way to do this. And that is by leveraging generative AI. So what Hubhopper has done is we have created the ability for a creator to be able to auto-generate their show notes at the completion of uploading their episode. So if you uploaded your episode, all you need to do is you need to go to the section where you have to create your show notes, or you need to create your episode summary, and you just have to click on the button that says generate my show notes. And these show notes that will be generated are generated specifically focused on discovery, specifically focused on making sure that it's indexed in the right way. It's picked up both by search engines in the most optimized way possible and by podcast players in the most optimized way possible. And you just sit back and relax and watch AI do its magic. And once you're done with that, otherwise 20-25 half an hour long procedure comes down to a couple of minutes where you can go and brew your next cup of coffee. And by the time you come back, your show notes are ready, and then you can move further on from there. So that's pretty much your show notes that are there for you. The one small tip that I would give you is that even if you follow the automated approach, it's still worth your while to go over your show notes once they've been generated and make a couple of tweaks here and there in accordance to what sounds most authentic to you, what sounds the most, most congruent with the tone of your own podcast. So that's pretty much it on show notes. Once again, show notes is just a fancy way of saying episode description. And the reason why it's called show notes is because it's got a little bit of more with it. It's not just the synopsis. It's the synopsis with links, with CTAs, and with timestamps, and different show notes can be created in different structures for specific goals. And you can do this in a manual way, which you can find in our blogs and resources section, or you can do this in an automated way, leveraging the Gen AI tool that we have at Hubhopper, where you just need to click a button and sit back and relax and see the magic come alive. So that's pretty much it. And thank you for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you in the next one.